Well, I'm getting a chance to touch base with the new TTUTA president for the very first time. Crystal Ashe joins me on set. I want to say congratulations to you, President.
Thank you, JW.
Yes, I know a couple of weeks ago you was doing your media blitz, and I'm happy that we're actually getting a chance to touch base. And I know your name itself was a point of major discussion, and I found you really dealt with it well, because you have been probably dealing with that for your whole life, and your name being such an icebreaker, as it were.
Excellent. No problem at all, because usually people have an issue with it when they hear it for the first time.
Yeah.
But after a while, they get accustomed. And we put it like this: you hardly will meet a next man named Crystal.
Yeah.
So you're bound to remember this one.
And you know, it makes you very unique. And clearly, you know, President, you're stepping into your role and function. Tell me, what's your ethos? What's your vision? What's your leadership style like and going to be?
All right. In terms of leadership of TTUTA, I intend to lead by example. There's nothing I would ask my fellow officers or any of the membership to do that I myself would be unwilling to do. Mm-hmm. So that is my mantra: servant leadership. I believe in doing everything first, setting the example, setting the right tone, ensuring that what is to be done is done properly. We want to take TTUTA, the national officers and myself, and the central executive and the general council. We want to take TTUTA in the direction of professionalism, real professionalism, true professionalism. A lot of people are not seeing, for whatever reason, they're not seeing TTUTA as a professional organization. We want to change that dynamics. We want to also encourage all our members who would have probably dropped out of TTUTA for whatever reason in the past. We want to show you, listen, TTUTA is there for you. TTUTA has always been there for you, and TTUTA will continue to be there for you. And we want to encourage you to come back to your home, come back to TTUTA. In addition, we have new members, persons who are now coming into the service and so on, who may want to join. So in terms of my leadership style, it'll be one of that, of building TTUTA, of allowing TTUTA to grow, and not forgetting the immediate past national officers. I would like to thank them publicly for the work and the foundation they would have laid for us, so that now we can build and grow on that foundation and carry TTUTA where it needs to go.
What's the general, when you have conversations with teachers, what's their spirit like when it comes to the environment, you know, the space in where they work? You know, is it fit for purpose? I know some teachers complain about the facilities, and of course what they have to treat with and sometimes quell the violence at the school. So generally, some of the major issues and how you plan to address them head on.
Yes, no problem. Our teachers, I must say thank you to all teachers in Trinidad and Tobago. We have been working under some sort of condition, not all perfect, but they have been doing their best. They have been working with the resources that they have, be it limited and so on. They are working with what they have. And on many days, teachers take money out of their own pockets to purchase things for children. This is something that we don't really hear about. You don't see, they don't advertise, because Jesus said, what you do with your left hand, you're not supposed to lay right hand. No, that is how it goes. So our teachers continue to toil in the vineyard. They continue to work very hard, assiduously, and so on. But we have some issues that we must treat with, and it would be remiss of me not to mention them on this particular occasion, right? So one of them, as I would have stated elsewhere, is the issue with the UTT and the USC graduates. These persons would have graduated in 2009, 2010, around there. They would have been identified as candidates of choice for pursuing a Bachelor of Education degree. They followed the instruction given to them by the Ministry of Education. They attended the institution. They were guided by the institution in terms of their core subjects and so on. And lo and behold, when they graduated 4 years after, they're being told that the subjects that they did and so on, I think, will not be used to classify them. So therefore, they're supposed to go in there as assistant teachers and come out as teacher ones. They're not being placed as teacher ones. Some of them supposed to be specialized in certain subjects for secondary school, and that again, we're having quite a lot of problems. So you're talking about people 16 years JW, 16 years you waited to be upgraded. Just imagine that. You do your degree, you finish your degree, you successfully pass a degree. You have a paper stating that you have completed the degree, you are successful. Crystal Ashe, you've completed the degree, and so on and so yeah. Yet you can't be remunerated. These people are assistant teachers. If they go to a bank to get a mortgage, they do not qualify, because you're working 20 years, because 16 plus they would have had to be working before that, prior to that. So many of them 7 years and so on. So you're talking about 20 plus years, and you can't qualify for a mortgage yet, man? Oh God, let's be sure. Our families need to be taken care of. These people have financial obligations. So that's one of our serious issues. We have brought issue with this to the Ministry of Education, however, to no avail.
Do you also represent teachers who are part of the denominational structure?
Yes.
Because I've heard to even get into some of these schools run by the denominational bodies, it's a lot of different hoops and it's a lot of formality before one could even get the approval.
Primary, secondary, you're talking?
I've heard primary.
No, not really. Be it a denominational school, it is still a public primary school, right? So public primary school, the only you might have to jump with a private primary school, but public primary schools, it shouldn't be. What happens? They cannot take people with respect to their feet or anything like that. It's not like that. It's in secondary school, you have the 20%, not the primary school.
So secondary might be a little more problematic than the primary.
I don't say it's problematic, and I don't think it's problematic because you make the marks, you get in on the 80% that the government is paying for, and the 20%, well, the school itself, the principal itself, has the obligation, and you have the right to choose students to fill that 20% vacancy.
No, not so much the students I'm talking about the teachers themselves.
Oh, teachers.
Yeah, because what happened is that someone would have come to me with a concern that they have all the qualifications and they've applied to get into one of the...
I understand your point now. I understand
national schools.
Yes, it is a little more challenging.
They have to be of the faith, which I could understand,
yes.
but you have to present your marriage license, and it was a different church you got married in. Like I didn't understand was all that sort of gymnastics to become a teacher in a denominational school.
Yes, it is in a denominational school, because remember the Concordat is an agreement between the Ministry of Education and the boards, right? It started with respect to the Catholic Education Board of Management, and then it continued with all the other boards. And what they did basically is the ministry gave them the right. Listen, this is your school. You would have built it, because many of the religions, they went out and they built schools. They built schools in areas that nobody was even thinking about building. I know you lived in the Komoto area, so you know of Kumaka in Valencia as well?
Yes, I do.
Right, so there was I taught in Kumaka. That was my first appointment, Kumaka RC. No transportation. I had to even buy a motorbike to go up there and so on and things. So I had a lovely experience. But that is like way in the bush, 11 3/4 miles from Valencia Junction. There's no public transportation or anything. Yet one of the Catholic Education Board of Management built a school in there. So they built school all over the place. So what the government said, listen, you must have a hand in your schools as well. And we have no problem with that. TTUTA has no issues with that whatsoever. But as he said, yes, it's a little more challenging, because they would want to make sure that you are part of the faith. If they're going to, let's say, promote people, the board must recommend. If the board doesn't recommend, you don't get the promotion. Unfortunately, that is how it is, right? So they reserve that right, and we work along with them. TTUTA works along with them, and so on and thing. But it's a little more challenging. I understand your point, and yes, they have to jump through some hoops. Yes, they have to present themselves as being somebody of that particular faith, because you wouldn't want to confuse the children too. Because if let's suppose you have a Christian school, and then you have somebody
who might not be of the faith.
And when you ask now when you have RI, religious instructions, and you have to teach your faith, you don't want to teach your faith and so on. So hence the reason why they would do things like that.
Understood. But thanks for the clarity there.
No problem at all. Yeah.
So you're saying some of the other issues?
Yeah. Let me just point on them. We have our brothers and sisters in the early childhood care and education, ECCE. Now, the Prime Minister, after the budget debate and so on, she indicated that she wants to eradicate contract employment in the public service and things. We have a few hundred teachers in the ECC program, and they are not recognized as teachers because the Education Act at present does not recognize them as teachers. So they don't fall. We cannot represent them. TTUTA cannot represent them at this particular point in time. But I want to say to the national community and to my ECC brothers, TTUTA is working vociferously to represent you. And I have an offer for you today. Join the association. If we get 50 plus 1, 51% of coming on board, we automatically become the recognized majority union. So instead of waiting years, which we have been waiting patiently for the legislation to fail, not that the government is not trying, but it takes time. So while you're doing this, you have teachers dying, you have teachers leaving the service, you have people cannot provide for their family adequately and so on and they're on contract, so there's no security of tenure. So I'm asking, and I'm putting it out there today, for the ECC people, you simply go to any TTUTA office, you get your TTUTA form. I'll walk with one today to show you. Right, you get your TTUTA form. I'll leave one with JW so you could have it and you could share at some point in time. You fill it out, you pay $100 because $100 a month, and you're inside. If we get enough of you, immediately we start to represent you. That way, your job becomes more secure. That way, you can provide better for your family and so on. So we're starting on a drive. And for those persons who were members before and you for whatever reason you think, come back home. We want to take you back home, right? So that's one of our next major issues in terms of that. We have a situation where we have our BOAs, the business operation assistants one day, like the secretary in the school. These people are on contract, JW. So some of these people working 10, 15 years now, but you're on contract. So you can, to go and buy a car or something like that, you just don't qualify automatically, instantaneously for that loan. I mean, it is tough for them. So contract to contract, and many of them, their contracts are ending very soon, within this year, at the end of the year. And they're in limbo. They don't know if it is that it will be renewed. The principals are in limbo because there are quite a number of schools without BOAs at this point in time. And listen to this, you may not know this. The principals have to do the duties of the BOA. So the principal is there, typing, doing everything for the Ministry of Education. Many schools, they're short of staff. So the principal also has to go and teach a class. I know of a particular school in Aruka area there, where the principal teaches 2 classes. Wow. 2 classes. So you're teaching 2 classes. You have to do your administrative duties. Then when the Ministry of Education asks you to submit documents, you don't want to be disrespectful to the ministry. You want to follow the instructions provided to you by your senior officers. So they will try their very best, but it is tough. It is tough.
You know, President Ashe, I want to ask the team if I could have the President just join me just for a minute or two after the 7 a.m. news update, because it's such a big learning curve this morning. There is lots to still discuss. We want to run to the news now, and if you could just probably spare me 2 to 3 minutes after our President just elaborate some more. And I want to get your take on the feedback regarding officers in school, and if sure, through your lens, if you're seeing a change in the behavioral patterns in the schools with our students. We take that pause, we come back, we try to get the open forum, and we continue for a few with the President of TTUTA, Crystal Ashe, who's live on set with me this morning. So getting a chance to continue with our very important conversation with new TTUTA President, Crystal Ashe. Mr. Ashe, I want to ask you, as it pertains to the current structure, through your lens, you came in with this system that was in place before you became president. Officers in schools, based on feedback, emails you're receiving, conversations, are you seeing that it's able to yield results? Are the students changing their behavior as it pertains to the schools, the sensitive schools where officers are located at this point in time?
Thank you very much for the question, JW. At this point in time, TTUTA is not really in receipt of any data, statistical information from the Ministry of Education. However, as you correctly said, with our communication with our staff reps, our principals, our teachers, and so on, we have gotten some level of feedback. But let me say, first of all, we agree with anything that would enhance or better protect our members, students, anybody on the compound and so on. So we agree with it in principle. We have no issues with it whatsoever. However, we have asked the Ministry of Education on more than one occasion to provide us something in documentation, something in writing to show, well, what are the parameters of the officers, how are they able to interact with children, with teachers, with staff, and so on. To date, we have not received anything. So it is a little difficult for us to make pronouncement on things. So TTUTA reserves the right to say, listen, let us adopt a wait-and-see policy, because it's a bit young. It's only since September. It's a bit new, the whole system. Probably at the end of the term, we will probably be able to get a clearer picture. We have been hearing, however, that in some schools, it has been received very favorably. And there has been a lot of positive change. Some students are very comfortable. Parents are saying, listen, we know that there's a police officer on the compound, and we feel much more comfortable with our children there and so on. But in some schools, you're still seeing issues of violence, because it is there. It is a measure to do something in the short term. It is not a long-term measure. The long-term measure would be how parents, society, teachers, everybody, we interact with these children. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes more than a village now. It takes a world, because remember, it's internet, so everything is global. So it is not happening. These things are not only happening in Trinidad and Tobago. Unfortunately, it's happening all over the world. So our children they need to be socialized, to understand, to treat with human beings. And if it is that you have a conflict, then the first thing that I try to do is not end it with my fist. I try to work it out, reason it, find a solution. As
we wrap things up, President, really fast, your advice to teachers, your membership, if they are on the receiving end of violence by a student, or even, God forbid, their parents?
As your TTUTA president, I would tell you, calm yourself. don't strike back. Try to subdue, calm the other individual and so on. Please don't hit back, right? I'm not advising anybody to strike anybody, but you have to protect yourself. So if it is that you have to block and so on, you do what is necessary. And hopefully the police officers and the security personnel on the school will treat with that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, of course, President Ashe, I want to thank you so much for being here. Let's keep the conversation going. There's so much more.
We'll have quite a lot. I have a whole book actually.
Well, I've seen that, and that's why we gave a little extension.
Yes, I appreciate that most sincerely, JW. It has been a pleasure, man. It has been a pleasure.
We're going to take a quick pause and we come back and get ready for our daily health tip. See you soon.